Hi, it's Morgan. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm gonna get in drag and talk shit about Berlin and Los Angeles. Yes, I have new hair. No, you don't care, that's fine, whatever. I like it. I'm gonna get in drag because I'm doing a gig downtown in LA today, a Lady Gaga themed event, in fact. And since it's almost the end of my time here in LA this year, I thought I'd go through some of my thoughts about the city and how it compares to Berlin. So I'm gonna go glue down my eyebrows, put in my contact lenses, and I'll be right back. Oh, hi, hello, I'm back, it's me. By the way, in case you're new here, I don't know if anyone new watches this channel. If you don't know me personally, please write in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. My name is Morgan Wood. I'm a drag queen originally from London in the UK. That's where I grew up. But I've been living for the last 8 years in Berlin, Germany, and that's where I started drag about 5 years ago now. And I've been spending the last 3 months in Los Angeles to avoid the Berlin winter with my partner because he's American and we're considering moving here, perhaps. TBD. Anyway, so tonight I'm doing a gig in downtown LA. I'm a guest in the show. The theme is Lady Gaga. I don't often perform Lady Gaga, but I do have a few numbers of hers that I do, so that's what the children are getting tonight. And anyway, usually I post on this channel once a week. That's what I've been trying to do for the last few months, but I've been a bit lax. Sorry about that. I just got much busier than I expected here in Los Angeles. And I'm actually leaving next week. So I thought I'd give you a little roundup, a little overview of my time here and how I feel like the city compares to Berlin, where I've been living for a while. I mean, I'm definitely not an expert in LA after being here for just 3 months, but I was here for 3 months last year as well. And I do feel like I got to know parts of the city and parts of the scenes of the city quite well. Build in my highlight to my forehead makeup before I start doing my eyes. So a little overview in case you don't know. Berlin and Los Angeles have some similarities. You might not think that at first. They are in fact sister cities. And the main similarity actually is in their size. The population is roughly the same. The metro area of Los Angeles has 3.9 million people, while the city-state of Berlin proper has 3.7 million people. LA is a bit bigger, it's more spread out, perhaps that's not a surprise. It's about 1,300 square kilometers compared to Berlin's 890 square kilometers. So obviously in Berlin, everything is a bit closer together, it's a bit more compact. And fellow Berlin drag performer HP Loveshaft told me this, though I wasn't able to verify it, so I don't know if this is true, but apparently Berlin and LA both have about the same native population, meaning population of people who were living in the city who were born there, and that's at about 25%. So there are 1 in 4 people basically living in LA and Berlin were born in those cities. I don't know if that's true though. Don't quote me. So if that is true, that means that a lot of people living in both LA and Berlin have moved here from elsewhere. But whether or not that's true, it doesn't really matter. It's obvious that both cities have a lot of people living in them who moved there from elsewhere. That has a certain vibe for sure, so I feel that that is similar between the two cities. Basically, they both have a lot of people who chose to live in them rather than just ended up living there by an accident of birth. Okay, another little eye template. Now let's add some shadow. Again, if you're new to me and my makeup, I do the same makeup every single time. I do blue eyes, a yellow lid, and a pink or orange lip. So get ready for that. So one of the main reasons my partner and I decided to come and spend part of the winter here is because of the weather. The weather is much nicer here in LA than in Berlin at this time of year. Though this year it's been very rainy and kind of cold. Not really that cold, like 16 degrees. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, don't ask me. But anyway, Los Angelinos have been very vocal about that. They kind of love the rain, but it also freaks them out. They don't know how to deal with it. Okay, this eye makeup is getting way out of hand. That is much too big. But the other reason that we chose LA specifically is that, well, my partner has some contacts here, has some friends already in the city, and it's a good city for entertainment, if you don't know. I mean, it's maybe the entertainment capital of the world. Duh. Sure, stating obvious facts like they're new information. Good job, Morgan. And, well, I'm a drag queen, and he, my partner, Larry, is a DJ and designer and writer, among other things. And in our time here, we've kind of really enjoyed the city and kind of really come to like it a lot. There are lots of things to like about it, which was kind of contrary to my expectations, because all the people I know in Berlin who are either from LA or have spent significant time here, they left because they kind of hated it. So all the things I heard about it were kind of that it was awful and gross and fake and disgusting and dirty and busy. And those things are all true, I guess. But, I mean, that's city life, right? Right? Ooh, I think this eye makeup is salvageable. I mean, it has to be, because I don't have time to redo it, so this is what they're getting. Doing my makeup is always a balance between, oh, I've got plenty of time, I'm super quick at this, and then cutting it to the last minute. That is always what happens. I always think, oh, I need 3 hours to do it, and then I remember, no, I actually only need like an hour and a half. And so I give myself exactly an hour and a half, and then it ends up taking exactly that time, and so I'm like right to the minute and I've got to leave immediately. But my artistry will not be rushed. Oh, I need to get a better black shadow. So I'm adding this black to kind of deepen this crease. I'm doing this fake floating crease, obviously fake. And I use this black to add some depth to it, but it's not very matte, and it just highlights the texture of my eyebrows that I've just glued down, which is kind of gross. Not what I'm after. But let us remember, drag makeup is meant to be seen from a distance, not up close. Usually I do this kind of swooping shape, like an up and a down, no. Up, down, up again, wave, wave, it's a wave, right? That's usually what I do. I'm trying to go a bit more straight out. I don't think I'm succeeding, it's fine. Oh no, the eye makeup is starting to meet in the middle. Oh, we're getting a monobrow, I hate that. Anyway, as much as you might like that, this is not meant to be a video of me struggling with makeup nor racing against the clock. Berlin and LA. One of the main, most obvious differences to me between Berlin and LA is the cost of living, essentially. Berlin is much cheaper, or LA is much more expensive, whichever way you want to put it. I would say that most everything here in LA is at least double the price of what it is in Berlin, maybe 3 times. I still am not quite used to it. It is kind of shocking. Though there are a few things that are actually cheaper here in LA. The most obvious one of which, at least to me, is public transport. Yes, you heard that right. LA does have public transport. This is one thing that before I came here, anyone who'd been here or lived here told me. They were like, you cannot go to LA without a car. And I was like, I'm gonna take that as a challenge. Maybe you've heard me talk about this already in other videos. Anyway, it doesn't matter, I'm repeating myself. Get used to it. LA's transport system is not as extensive as Berlin's by no means, but there is a system. There's a metro system. It's okay, it's not great. And there are buses. I actually really like the buses, and a ride on both the bus or the metro is only $1.75, which is about half the price what it is in Berlin. Maybe it's not comparable because the systems are not as comprehensive, like I said, but still. I like the buses actually because, well, you can see outside. They're actually quite clean. They have Wi-Fi. I know, people here, it's so funny to me, people here in LA who've lived here like 20 years, whatever, or all their lives, I tell them that I ride the bus and the buses have Wi-Fi. They're like, I didn't know that. I didn't even know there were buses. I've never taken a bus. It's kind of wild to me. Okay, I'm just gonna fill in my eyeliner. That's what we're calling this. Now I'll set this gel liner with some black shadow. That same black shadow I just said I don't like. It's actually kind of gross as well. I actually compressed this myself into this pan because I was too cheap to just buy a new one. I could go out and just buy one, but this is here, so I want to use it up. And by the way, if you're interested, you can actually see me arrange this and all of my other makeup in this video right here, where I Marie Kondoed my makeup a few months ago. That's looking pretty good, considering how quickly I just did that. Yeah, when they're looking from a distance and I'm moving constantly, this will look fine. So anyway, back to my topic of Berlin versus LA. That's kind of the main, biggest difference that I see between the two cities, is that here in LA, everyone has a car, or I mean, not everyone, but most people, and it's really assumed that you have a car. Everyone gets around by car and there's parking everywhere. The city is built around cars. I mean, maybe that's true in lots of North American cities. I'm just here, so I'm talking about this one. And certainly in Berlin, it does surprise me how many cars there are in the city, considering that people live in apartment buildings and there aren't parking garages underneath buildings like there are here. I also just think in Berlin, why would you want a car? It would be more inconvenient to have one, surely. But here in LA, I can definitely see how it would be more convenient to have a car. Like sometimes I'm like, okay, I can get to this other place on the other side of the city. I have to take 2 buses, it's gonna take an hour and a half. Or if I were driving, it would take 25 minutes. But it's so common here in LA that people have a car. It's just assumed that everyone does. So like I've been out with people in one place and they're like, okay, we're gonna go to this other place. I'll meet you there. And I'm like, I don't have a car. Hello, can I have a ride? And people love giving you rides actually, if you ask, but they don't offer because they just assume you have a car. I shouldn't make blanket statements like that. I'm sure not everyone loves giving rides and I'm sure not everyone would be offered rides, but I'm just as charming so people can't resist. Oh. Okay, that's basically the top half of my face done. I'm gonna prime the bottom part of my face and then continue my makeup and talk some more about Berlin and LA. Oh God, I've got to leave in an hour. Oh. By the way, I'm actually using my pinker shade of foundation. Sorry, I can't take myself seriously like this. I'm using my pinker shade of foundation because it actually matches my real skin tone, because today I'm not wearing my titty bib. Groundbreaking. If you don't understand any of the words I just said about titty bib and foundation, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter, no one cares but me. Excuse me, do you mind? Oh. Yeah, so usually when I do drag, I wear a silicone breastplate which comes up to about here and it has the form of breasts and it's slightly yellower than my natural skin tone, so I try and wear a yellower foundation to match it better so it looks a bit more seamless. But today I'm doing looks which do not require it, or I just don't want to wear it. So I'm taking the makeup all the way down here, and this should, or this used to, match my actual skin tone. Maybe I've got too much sun. It'll be fine. Everyone will be far away from me. I'll be on stage, under lights. Honestly, that's why I keep people far away, so they don't see the flaws in my makeup. Okay, Morgan, put the makeup on, quickly. Time is running out. Honestly, that's about as athletic as I get, pounding makeup onto my face. It honestly hurts my arm. By the way, I'm gay, just in case that wasn't obvious. By the way, I don't know if anyone has noticed. If you have, comment below. I started changing the shapes which I use to highlight my face. I used to highlight just all of this from the forehead to the bottom of the nose, or the top of the lip actually. But now I do a base color and then I highlight in this kind of triangular shape. Hi, how are you? So the other arena, if you will, of life that I've noticed differences between LA and Berlin is in the drag scene, because that's what I do. So in some ways it's kind of very similar, the scenes in Berlin and LA, and in other ways it's very different. The actual composition of the scene I feel like is quite different. In Berlin I think we have a lot of masculine drag performers, a lot of gender non-conforming performers. In LA, I think they exist. I've heard about them, but I haven't seen them so much, and I think that there's just a bit more separation between the drag queen community and everything else, which is a shame, but I guess Berlin is quite forward with that stuff, so maybe it's not surprising. So when I start doing shows here in LA, I definitely want to bridge that gap some, if I can. Slim down this nose, shall we? But in terms of the actual shows, how they look, how they run, one big difference I've noticed is that here in LA, the drag shows often have a theme. Like there's a predetermined theme and all the performers have to kind of work within that theme, which is interesting. Like tonight, I'm performing at a Lady Gaga themed show, so we all have to do Lady Gaga numbers. Fine. I actually kind of like the idea in general of themed shows. Just sometimes they're a little random. Like recently I did a show where the theme was Tuvalu, the Swedish singer, versus the UK. So we were all asked to do a Tuvalu song and then a song by any UK artist. Like, okay, sure. I guess the reason why it seemed random is because I was told about the theme after I was booked for the show. I guess it would have made, to me, more sense to be like, okay, do you want to take part in a show where this is the theme? Anyway, in theory, I quite like the idea of a themed show, and I might actually use it back in Berlin, so watch this space. Another big difference I noticed with the shows here compared to Berlin is that during the show, most of the performers just hang out backstage. I was actually at one show, this was not in LA, but in Palm Springs, where the backstage was quite large, and it actually had a TV screen showing the show as it was happening, so we could actually watch the show from backstage without having to go out in the audience, which is kind of nice, I guess. But I do actually like, even when I'm just a guest in a show, I like watching the show, like seeing what the other performers are doing. And a lot of the other places where that's not possible, maybe because of how the backstage is situated, or it's just not the thing that is done, you end up missing all of the other performers, and that's kind of a shame. Because like, I do drag because I like drag and I like watching drag. I definitely have watched shows that I've been in here, but I just noticed it's not the thing that everyone does, and maybe it seems a little weird to some people here that I do that. That's okay. I'm okay with being weird. Clearly. I've started doing this thing where I cut underneath the contour of my cheek just to get a really sharp line, and I used to do it with my highlight concealer shade basically, but that was too bright. I think I'm just gonna use my neutral, my base foundation color to do that. Like that. That looks fine, right? You can't help, it's okay, don't worry about it. I'm gonna go powder and I'll be right back, and then we'll do the finishing touches. All right, I've powdered. Let's do some powder contour, shall we? So perhaps the most obvious difference between drag shows here in LA and in Berlin is the tipping culture. I mean, that's a difference between Berlin and LA in general, or we can say between Germany and the US, or perhaps between Europe and North America, I don't know. I'm not here to make sweeping statements such as that. I'm just here to talk about these two cities that I know. So if you're not familiar with how drag shows often work in the US, as the performer is performing, members of the audience are tipping them. So they're handing you $1 bills, because they have those here, right? And so you're trying to perform, but you're also trying to make money. Capitalism. And at first I found this kind of annoying, I guess, as a performer. I was like, I am trying to perform, I don't have time to be collecting tips. But it's kind of fun. I mean, I also like getting tipped. But I realized it's also a way of the audience interacting with the performance, like the audience becomes part of the show, which is kind of cool. It also does make me, as a performer, kind of feel like a dancing monkey, which I guess I am. Okay, let's very quickly do some blush, because I am running out of time. And I don't really know if drag performers can make enough money from just the tips, but there are drag shows which have such a thing as a tip spot, which means that you actually don't get paid, you just get to keep your tips. That's the thing, you also don't share any tips. What we do in Berlin is we collect tips at the end of the show and then we share them because, you know, socialism. But here you basically always keep your own tips, and some people are only performing for tips. Like actually tonight I'm doing a tip spot, so I'm just getting tips. Which is fine, I knew that going in, it's okay. So that's basically the makeup done. I'm actually gonna go get dressed, put on the wig and the lashes when I get to the venue, because I'm taking the bus there, so I thought I'd take you along with me and I'll show you the final look once I arrive. Very conveniently, there's a bus that goes directly from the bottom of my hill to the venue, basically. I just had to walk a few blocks. Then I got dressed and changed in the venue backstage, met the other performers. And here is the final look. It was a fun show. I had a lot of fun meeting these performers and performing some Lady Gaga for once. If you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. There are new videos every week, perhaps. I make no promises, but there are new videos with some frequency. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, perhaps leave a comment, share it with someone who might find it interesting, educational, or inspirational. And you can also follow me over on Instagram at Morganwood Callisto, MorganWoodCallisto. And you can sign up to my monthly newsletter, which I send out with all of my upcoming performances and appearances, at the link in the description of this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Goodbye. I could totally just go out to the grocery store like this, right? In this city, who would notice?